Cancer, the nurturing heart of deep intuition and emotional sanctuary. What if I told you that a presence whose understanding flows like a calm, steady tide instinctively drawn to your authenticity is being guided into your orbit? Not because you sought it, but because the unseen world recognized a depth within you that others often overlook entirely. This isn't mere chance nor a fleeting message. It's a ripple of truth, delicately woven for your path, with a grace as profound as the moon's pull. Because something you offered silently without expectation under a sky that only your sensitive spirit witnessed sent out a vibration so resonant, so real, that the universe could no longer remain still. And now someone with a rare kind of emotional presence, a soul that speaks in comforting frequencies, is being nudged toward you not by logic, but by a connection that runs deeper than conscious thought. Whether it manifests as a tangible opportunity or an unseen shift in your emotional landscape, you are being moved, Cancer. Not rescued, but acknowledged, recalibrated. Your empathetic spirit is being given the space to flourish in its truest form. This isn't because you waited passively, but because you continued to nurture, to feel, to hold space in your heart when no one else was observing. You offered genuine care and quiet understanding from the core of who you are. When it might have been easier to withdraw, you chose to remain open. You extended compassion with both hands, asking for nothing in return. That choice, subtle in the world's eyes, but immense in spirit, became a gentle current. And now that current is circling back, not as a reward, but as a natural echo carved into the rhythm of the stars. So let's pause for a breath, deep and slow. Feel that gentle hum beneath your skin. That's not just a flicker of chance. That's synchronicity, calling your name in a voice as ancient as the tides. You didn't stumble across this message. You arrived at the exact moment your energy called it forward. No algorithm could have arranged that. Whether this appeared in your feed unexpectedly while you were seeking comfort elsewhere, or in the soft hush of a sleepless night, know this. It wasn't random. You didn't just drift into this moment. You summoned it. Your frequency pulled it through the veil. And now that same frequency is beginning to unlock a door that's been sealed for far too long. Cancer, if you felt the weight of emotional stillness, whether in your environment, in old relationship patterns, or in the feelings that keep repeating, this is your sign. The emotional ground is beginning to shift. But this isn't only about where your feet stand. It's about the quiet evolution of who you are becoming on every level. Spiritually, emotionally, mentally, you are about to move across thresholds you can't fully perceive yet, shaped by the sacred work you chose to do when no one else was looking and there were no outward accolades. So let me speak this from the deepest place in my chest. Thank you for being here. Your energy, your presence, your voice in the comments, your moments of sharing, each one is more than a digital gesture. It's a message to the universe that you are awake. You are listening. You are showing up. And it's that quiet resonance that makes this space something more than content. It makes it sacred. That resonance is what lets this frequency continue to deepen layer by layer. And Cancer, believe me, you're going to want to stay close as this message continues to unfold, because what's arriving here today wasn't written in vague ink or meant for a crowd. This is precise. It's pointed, and it holds the kind of weight that can quietly redraw the path you thought you were on from this week forward. But before we step any further, I want you to pause and settle into yourself. Take a full breath. Let your heart feel the emotional currents around it, and then make a choice. Scroll down and write the number 777 inches the comments. Not just as a symbol, but as your spoken yes, not a passing reaction, not a maybe. This is your claim. This message is yours, not borrowed, not loosely intended, yours. This is your sacred green light to the chapter that has been waiting quietly for your signal. So tell me, Cancer, what was it you did so gently and so far from the spotlight that the universe decided you couldn't remain in that old space a moment longer? We're about to uncover it. Stay near, stay open. Let the truth rise. Because sometimes it's the quietest act, the kind you don't even register as sacred, that changes everything. Maybe it was just a moment woven into an ordinary day, nothing grand on the surface. And yet in that quiet slice of time, you offered your presence, your empathy, your comforting stillness without needing it to echo back. You answered a soft inner knowing that said, "Do this. It's right." You chose tenderness when a protective shell might have felt easier. You chose patience instead of an emotional reaction. You chose to hold space for someone's pain when your own intuition was urging caution. That moment, Cancer didn't disappear into the air. It was woven into the field of energy that surrounds us all. Because energy doesn't vanish. It spirals. It stretches. It always circles back. And in the language of alignment, in the sacred logic of the stars, every gesture becomes frequency. Some energies flare up loud and fade fast. But the ones born from quiet truth, they travel differently. They reach farther. They move through the unseen like deep silvery threads of moonlight. And when that light stays anchored in presence and sincerity, it turns into more than light. It becomes a beacon. And even if you never see who receives it, someone always does. This isn't just metaphor. This is how the laws of spiritual balance operate. In the realm of emotional restoration, kindness never falls into silence. It rests. It gathers strength. It waits just beyond the veil until the moment arrives when your readiness, your reality, and something far wiser align in perfect rhythm. Cancer, whatever is unfolding around you right now, that sudden shift in emotional direction, the unexpected arrival of someone who truly sees and holds space for you, the strange ease with which comfort begins to flow isn't luck. It's the return. The universe never sends back what you gave in the same form. Maybe you offered emotional comfort when your own heart felt empty, and now a deep sense of belonging is beginning to flow in your direction. Maybe you kept your peace in a room that didn't deserve your vulnerability, and now someone speaks your emotional truth for you. Maybe you stayed loyal to what felt right even when it cost you personal comfort, and now the path clears, the emotional pressure lifts. A door opens wide and lets in the light. Don't forget this, the harvest rarely looks like the seed. And Cancer, don't doubt it, you're stepping into your harvest season. Imagine yourself now as the one who gently nurtured a tiny flame in a room others feared to enter. You didn't boast. You didn't ask who noticed. You simply let the warmth stay. And now, long after you quietly move forward, someone has finally caught sight of the sanctuary you left behind. And they're being drawn toward it with unmistakable intention. In the teachings of wisdom traditions, there's a gentle truth. Do not grow weary in doing good, for in the right season a harvest will come if you do not give up. That's not just comfort for the soul. It's a living law of energy always circling back. In a world chasing speed and applause, we're taught to expect outcomes fast. But your soul was never built for urgency. It moves with the pace of seasons, with alignment, not alarms. So when this figure appears, a presence tied to emotional security, deep connection, or nurturing influence, it may feel almost surreal. You may wonder, why now? And the answer is this: because now your emotional foundation is strong enough to hold what was always meant to grow. The emotional solitude you endured wasn't exile, it was preparation. The universe was waiting until your inner ground was rich enough to hold what's been destined for you all along. You never needed to shout your worth. You didn't have to push or posture. You only needed to stay rooted in your emotional truth. Let that settle deep in your chest. Let it unravel the old doubts that whispered no one notices or kindness vanishes. Because Cancer, your soul has been seen in full. What you did quietly was not missed. Those invisible choices you made, so exact, so aligned, they are now weaving the shape of what's arriving next. And it won't be small. It will carry the weight and beauty of divine timing. Not chaotic, not sudden, but deliberate, like the turning of the tides. It may feel at first like something is happening to you, a disruption, a jolt that shakes what felt safe. But what if instead you're being guided into something higher? What if this shift isn't a detour at all, but a divine unfolding? Cancer, I know your heart moves with loyalty and care. You stay where others leave. You hold on longer than most, especially when the familiar wraps itself around you like old comforting habits. But even the crab must shed its shell when it's outgrown its space. And that's what's happening now. You've already expanded past the boundaries that once contained you. Not because something broke, but because you've been made whole. And the universe in its precision is answering not with chaos, but with clarity. You're not being cast out of comfort. You're being raised into a space that reflects who you are now. This is not about being displaced. It's about being placed intentionally. Astrologically, this is a calling, a recalibration of how you connect, how you work, how you understand your inner compass. 1. And Cancer, your compass is no longer lost in fog. It's pointing clearly, firmly toward a new emotional direction. That's why what's shifting now doesn't signal failure. It's resonance. Your energy no longer fits the old season. And so life in its quiet wisdom is redirecting you not to test you, but to match you with what you've already become. In tarot, this part of your journey echoes the chariot, steady movement powered by will and purpose, often involving introspection and new beginnings. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's also strongly tied to the moon, representing intuition, emotions, and hidden depths, and the nurturing energy of the Empress. 5. Together, these cards mark a threshold, a moment when the outer world begins to shift shape to mirror your inner landscape. 1, 2, 3. And you may already feel it, that strange, almost sacred sense that the world around you is beginning to feel unfamiliar. Routines that once brought emotional peace now feel oddly hollow. The spaces that once wrapped you in calm now feel a little too snug, a little too faded. Even the way people respond to you has started to shift slightly but unmistakably. These aren't warning signs. They are signals, gentle confirmations that your energy has changed and the outer world is catching up to the quiet truth unfolding inside you. This isn't escape, it's expansion. This is you stepping into the version of your life that once felt like a distant dream, something your past self only dared to imagine. And Cancer, on a very practical level, this is the perfect moment to let your physical surroundings reflect the inner shift that's been quietly blooming. Because sometimes the most powerful way to show you're ready is through small, intentional acts. Move your bed a few inches. Turn your favorite chair to face a new patch of light. Clear that drawer you've been ignoring. Revisit those files on your desktop that weigh you down without you realizing it. Dust the forgotten shelves. These aren't chores, they are rituals. They whisper to your inner self, I'm making room for something I can already feel coming. You prepare not from restlessness, but from grounded belief. Think of it like setting the table before a guest arrives, even if you can't see them yet, or like watering soil before a single green shoot breaks through. This is how we welcome what hasn't arrived but is already making its way to us. You don't need to know what form your blessing will take. You don't need a name, a deadline, or a guarantee. You only need to behave as if you believe it's real. That's not delusion. That's faith in motion. So don't resist this quiet pull. Don't tighten your grip when life begins to shift. This isn't instability. You're not being cast adrift. You're being moved by something older, something wiser, something that knows exactly where you're meant to take root next. This isn't just change, it's elevation. Your vibration has deepened, grown fuller, steadier. And now it's time to be placed somewhere your truth can stretch, where your heart isn't cramped by old limits. Let that shift take shape. Cancer, you are not being removed. You're being trusted. Think back. There have been moments when no one was watching, when you wondered if staying kind still mattered. If remaining soft in a hard season had any place, you may have felt the quiet sting of giving so much while others barely noticed. But in the deeper design of energy, not a single act of love has disappeared. Everything you gave from the heart is still echoing in the field around you. And Cancer, your energy is unlike any other. It hums not loudly, but with a quiet strength that carries. Every soul has a unique vibration. Some flicker, some blaze, some drift like mist. But yours resonates like the gentle, consistent pull of the moon on the tides. 5, 6. Rich, deep, unmistakable. You move with honesty, with care, with a kind of integrity that doesn't shout. You don't chase light, you are light. Not because you try to be, but because you stayed close to what's real. That's why even in your quietest moments, the universe has felt your presence like the deep, unseen currents beneath the ocean's surface. In this energetic dance, alignment doesn't come through performance. It comes through resonance. And Cancer, you've held your note unwavering through every season. You stayed nurturing when others scattered. You gave warmth when emotional distance would have been easier. You remained present when retreat would have felt safer. And that vibration, the one only you could hold, has finally reached the point of return. That's why someone of importance is being drawn to you. Now, it might be a person who offers deep emotional security. It might be an opportunity shaped like a person. But either way, this appearance is no accident. It's a response to the signal your spirit has been sending all along. This isn't about charm or titles or being seen in the usual ways. This is something deeper, soul to soul, heart to heart. His movement toward you isn't logical. It's not strategic. It's instinctual, stirred by the same quiet grace and nurturing power that you've been living from all along. He's not arriving by chance. He's arriving because your energy asked him to. Astrologically, the planetary tides are gently turning in your favor, especially when it comes to emotional breakthroughs and the deepening of meaningful bonds. 6, 7. But this isn't a shallow kind of shift. It's potent. It runs through you like a warm, steady current, reshaping every layer of your life with grounded grace. This is your elevation, Cancer. And it's not something you forced into being. You earned it simply by remaining true. The quiet path you've walked, often without praise, is now becoming a beacon, calling in others who are finally able to walk beside you, not in shadow, but in light. And Cancer, what's arriving isn't just romantic connection. It's deeper than that. It's alignment with those who can see and honor the full weight of your presence. People who don't just notice the surface, but reach for the truth that lives beneath your stillness. You may begin to notice it in the way certain conversations suddenly feel rich with meaning, or in invitations that seem small but stir something deeper. Perhaps it arrives in a new connection that feels older than time itself, as if it had been waiting patiently for the moment you were finally ready. These are not accidents. These are activations. Invisible threads stretching across time, tightening now, to show that your frequency has found its match. If you've ever carried the ache of caring more deeply than others, knew how to hold of staying present when it would have been easier to withdraw into your shell, then this is the moment to reclaim that part of yourself. The universe never punished you for being soft in a hardened world. It was shaping you gently, deliberately, to be trusted with something more lasting, a person, a doorway, a shift that is subtle yet undeniable. It's answering the part of you that remained tender, not despite it, but because of it. You were never meant to harden in order to make it through. You were asked to keep your gentleness intact, even when it felt like no one mirrored it, because one day they would. If something in your chest tightens now, if your breath feels caught as these words find, you don't brush that away. That's your soul stirring with memory, whispering, "I remember." And if there have been days when you quietly said to yourself, "Maybe it would hurt less if I stopped caring," then let this be the moment that belief starts to shift. You never needed to care less. You only needed to live long enough for your care to become the very thing carrying you forward. Speak it out loud, or better yet, write it where the universe can see it. I still believe in light. Let yourself be seen, Cancer, in the quiet fullness of your sincerity. You have never been invisible, not to the cosmos, not to the current that's been listening. Let this be the turning point where your kindness no longer floats unheard, but becomes the very frequency that draws your next chapter closer. There are seasons where everything around you begins to shift in such subtle ways, it almost escapes notice. Cancer, you've likely been feeling that this gentle detachment from what once rooted you. Routines that once brought peace now feel too predictable. Comforts begin to blur into restlessness. Even your own reflection may seem unfamiliar, as if you're watching yourself become someone else. This isn't disorientation, it's emergence. You're not unraveling. You're growing beyond what once fit, shedding not skin but emotional shape, releasing patterns that once protected you but no longer reflect who you're becoming. This space between what was and what is, that quiet stretch of waiting, is not empty. It's a sacred pause, a breath the soul takes between lifetimes of identity. You are standing at the edge of something new, not a shift in location but in vibration. And the tremble you feel inside, that's not fear to run from. It's the same hum that every soul feels when they are about to step into something truer than what they've known. Every being called toward deeper purpose must pass through this moment of ache, this goodbye to old definitions. But what makes this season different for you, Cancer, is that the change doesn't require chaos. It begins as a grounded knowing, a soft but firm realization that what once felt like home now asks to be released. The flame in you wants to burn in a different direction. And this shift begins not with action, but with your quiet willingness to let go. Astrologically, this is a sacred invitation. The energy surrounding you now carries the vibration of the chariot, not in reckless speed, but in determined, purposeful movement. 1, 2. The charioteer moves not because they know every outcome, but because something inside them trusts the journey ahead, harnessing dual energies for a grand goal. 1, 3. They carry no heavy emotional past, only the echo of a deeper call. And Cancer, that is the whisper drawing near to you. The power of this archetype isn't in guaranteeing ease. It's an honoring movement. You're not being asked to predict every step, only to say yes. Yes to the whisper that keeps circling back in quiet hours. Yes to the version of you that once felt too far away to become real. Yes to the new emotional shape your being is starting to take. This transformation isn't demanding upheaval. It doesn't ask you to burn bridges or make sudden leaps. It simply asks you to show up, to lean gently toward the shift, and to trust that you are ready. Even if part of you still hesitates, this isn't force, it's alignment. And the road ahead, it won't be paved with all the answers. It will be paved with trust. You don't need to pack a suitcase to move your soul, Cancer. You don't need a map or a destination scribbled in bold letters. What's being asked of you now is much simpler. Realign how you show up in the quieter corners of your life. Because real movement doesn't always begin with the external. Sometimes it starts with the choice to release what no longer reflects the emotional truth you're growing into. And one of the most powerful ways to meet that truth is by creating space not just in your surroundings, but inside your own breath. Start small. Set aside 10 minutes each day for the next week. Light a candle if you're called to open a journal. Ask gently but with intention, what must I let go of to step into the life that's been waiting for me? Don't chase the answer. Let it rise like sediment from a still pond, stirred gently by your own willingness to see what surfaces. It may surprise you. It might not just be old roles or outdated responsibilities. It could be identities you've outworn, emotional patterns built for survival, or habits that no longer serve the person you're becoming. This isn't just journaling. It's an offering, a ritual of inner clarity. Each word becomes a quiet blueprint telling the universe, I am willing to release what no longer fits so I can hold what is ready to arrive. And Cancer, believe me, something is approaching. You may not be able to name it yet. It may feel like a breeze passing where heaviness once lingered, but it is real. You're not leaving yourself behind. You're simply sinking deeper into your own essence. You're not shedding who you are. You're letting the truest part of you come forward, unfiltered and whole. So if you feel tight in the life you once settled into, if the roles you've long played feel unfamiliar now, that isn't collapse. It's expansion. Let it unfold. Let yourself outgrow the past without guilt. Even if you can't yet see every step ahead, your soul recognizes the direction. Trust its rhythm. Let your frequency do the leading now. Because what's shifting isn't just physical, it's energetic. And this shift isn't random. It's one your spirit agreed to long before your mind had words for it. And this new chapter, Cancer, is not only for your own growth. Deep down, you've always known that this moment of quiet change isn't just personal, it's sacred. You're being placed not just for your benefit, but for a purpose that echoes beyond yourself. You've become a bridge between the seen and the sensed, between inner knowing and steady nurturing action. You've spent years learning how to be present in uncertainty, how to protect your emotional peace without closing your heart, how to hold truth without needing it to shout. But now something more is being asked of you. It's time to step out from the stillness that once protected you, because you're not here to simply reflect what's true. You're here to embody it. The energy you carry doesn't just hint at change, it proves it's possible. And when others feel that grounded clarity in you, it doesn't just comfort them, it wakes them up. Some souls are placed ahead not because they are chosen above others, but because they are equipped to go first. Cancer, you are one of them. Quiet strength, gentle resilience, and an unwavering trust in what grows slowly. That's what makes you the one who can cross thresholds others don't yet see. Think of the nurturing mother archetype, not for how loudly she moved, but for her empathy, her protective grace, the way she created a sanctuary in exactly the right place, at the right time, with the right heart, and everything changed. 8, 9, 10. You too are being aligned with someone and something that lives beyond the timeline you've known. The preparation happened in silence, but your arrival will not. And in the sacred language of numbers, the appearance of 777 is no accident. It is a whisper from something higher, a signal that what's completing now is not a closure but a seal. One chapter finishes so the next can begin in power, not hesitation. This isn't coincidence. It's fulfillment, a spiritual contract made real in time. So if you've been seeing that number lately or even right now, trust it. It's not a trick of repetition. It's a woven message folded into the path you've been walking. A soft voice from beyond reminding you what's ahead has already been written into the shape of your soul. And if you want to move through this next part with presence and grace, Cancer, you must begin with care, not as a side note, but as sacred practice. The body that carries your energy is your vessel, and it's time to tend to it as such. The vibration you're stepping into holds more and asks more. Start simple. A gentle 3-day detox, not to restrict, but to clear the emotional noise. Drink deeply. Let your body feel cared for. Sleep fully and without apology, giving your nervous system the space to breathe so your intuition can speak without interruption. Financially, reapproach your resources with honesty, not from fear, not from lack, but from alignment. Ask yourself, where am I spending my life force? Because money is just one shape energy takes. It often reflects what we believe we deserve. In your creative or professional life, make space for 3 ideas each day. They don't need to be polished, just write them down. Even the most fragile thought might be a doorway. These ideas are not empty. They are signals from the part of you moving faster than your routine can catch. And in love, whether romantic, familial, or platonic, let yourself feel fully again. Stop guarding your softness with logic. You don't need reasons to open your heart. You are allowed to hope. You are allowed to want. The you that exists now knows how to stay safe and stay open. So here's the question only you can answer. Are you ready to step into the unfolding that has been quietly circling your name? Are you ready to accept that being chosen doesn't mean being elevated, it means being trusted? Trusted to walk through this door and carry a light steady enough to shift the room. If your answer is yes, then take a breath. Come back to yourself and type below in your own voice or mind, I am ready. Let those words become your root. The first step into a chapter your soul has been preparing for all along. If you're still here with me, Cancer, take a breath and receive everything that just moved through you. Let it settle, not just in your thoughts, but deep in your chest, your bones, the quiet soil of who you are. Because this was never just another message. This was a mirror, a reflection of the self you've been growing toward and the truth you've carried all along. You are not behind. You are not overlooked. And you have never, not for a single breath, been invisible. In fact, you are exactly on time. What's shifting in and around you now, whether it appears as a physical change or a deeper inner realignment, isn't an accident. It's sacred, it's earned, and more than that, it's confirmation. Proof that the quiet choices you made, the ones no one applauded, the moments you held your emotional ground, when it would have been easier to fade, those moments were felt. You passed a turning point you didn't even know you were approaching. And now something wiser is reshaping the way forward to match the truth your spirit whispered long ago. Yes, part of you might still hesitate. You may feel the pull of comfort of the familiar routines and quiet roles that once gave you a sense of emotional control. But ask yourself gently, what if the unknown isn't a threat but an invitation? What if the unfamiliar space is the first one wide enough to hold your full light? What if this shift isn't something happening to you but something being born through you? And what if the simple act of saying yes, of allowing even a small, quiet movement forward, becomes the very spark that changes everything? Often, the most powerful transformations begin with one sacred gesture. So today, find something tangible to mark your evolution. Maybe it's a smooth stone you kept from a beach walk long ago, a faded note, a scripture, a feather, a line from a book that never let go of you. Keep it where you'll see it often. Let it remind you of the truth. Your journey isn't about becoming someone else. It's about returning again and again to the steady core of who you've always been beneath the noise and the waiting. The light inside you, Cancer, is not decoration, it's your blueprint. It was placed there for moments exactly like this. So let me ask you now, from a place of truth, are you ready to stop shrinking your emotional self to fit into places that no longer hold your essence? Are you ready to stop waiting for permission to become the version of you that's already ripened within? Are you willing to step into the life that's been unfolding quietly, waiting for your yes? If so, type it below. Say it aloud. Whisper it into the space around you, I am ready. Or simply write 777 to affirm that this message met you exactly where your soul needed it most. And before you go, thank you from the deepest part of me. Truly, your presence here was not passive. Every word you absorbed, every comment you offer, every way you showed up, it isn't just support, it's resonance, it's sacred. You are now part of a constellation, a network of souls waking up together to the quiet power of living in alignment. So, if this message stirred something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone whose spirit might also be searching for a sign. Subscribe so this frequency can find you again when the moment is right. And if you are taking even one brave step toward what's next, know this: you are not walking alone. You are being guided. You are being supported. You are being gently held by a grace that knows exactly where you stand and exactly what you carry. The clarity will unfold piece by piece as you move forward. But for now, if it feels right in your chest, let this be your quiet prayer. God, if you are shifting the ground beneath me, give me the strength not to resist the grace already on its way. Let those words walk with you. Let them steady your steps through this middle space. Because Cancer, your light was never meant to be hidden. Not in this season, not ever.